So what do you think was the most complicated moving job in history? Seriously, I'm not talking about moving a skyscraper or some priceless work of art. Nah, we're going way, way back, thousands of years, to break down this incredible logistical puzzle. An operation that was so massive, so important, it was all laid out in perfect detail right in the book of Numbers, chapter 4. Okay, let's get into it.
Right, here's the core problem. You have this massive community of people on the move, and right in the middle of it all is the tabernacle, this incredibly complex, holy structure. You can't just, pack it up in a box and throw it on a cart. Every single piece is sacred. Every step is absolutely critical. So how on earth did they pull it off?
You see, the tabernacle wasn't just some tent. It was considered the literal dwelling place of God on earth. So moving it was, it was the highest stakes operation you could imagine. And at the very heart of the whole plan was a super organized and totally dedicated workforce.
And here they are. Meet the movers, the Levites. This was the one tribe of Israel that was set aside specifically for the service of the tabernacle. But they weren't just one big crew. As we're about to see, they were split into 3 highly specialized family clans. Think of them as the ultimate divine moving company, where each team had a very distinct and vital role to play.
But hold on. Before the Levites can even dream of lifting a single pole, another, even more elite group has to go in first. This is the prep team, and their job is, by far, the most dangerous of all.
Yeah, this job was only for the high priest Aaron and his sons. They were the only people on the planet allowed to handle the most sacred objects of the sanctuary while they were still uncovered. Their job was to go in first and meticulously package everything up before the regular moving crews were even allowed to step foot inside.
Okay, now what's so fascinating here is the sheer level of detail. I mean, this was not just about throwing a blanket over things. Each holy item had a specific multi-layered packing process. You see the repeated use of this durable leather material, translated here as badger's skins, and these specific colors, right? Blue, purple, scarlet, colors that symbolized royalty and divinity. This whole process was a sacred ritual in itself.
And here are the stakes. This whole elaborate prep work by the priests, it was all about creating a protective barrier. Once they were done, the Levites could come in and carry the items, but they were absolutely forbidden from touching the holy objects directly. And the penalty for that? It wasn't a fine, it was instant death. So you see, the prep work wasn't just to protect the furniture, it was to protect the movers themselves.
All right, so with the most sacred items all wrapped up and safe to handle, the main workforce can finally get to work. And this whole operation was brilliantly designed around 3 specialized clans, each with their own very specific job.
And this just lays out the genius of the system perfectly. It's exactly like a professional moving company today. You've got the Kohathites, they're the white glove team, handling the most precious, delicate items. Then you've got the Gershonites. They're in charge of all the textiles, the curtains, the covers, all the soft furnishings. And finally, the Merarites. They're the heavy construction crew, the ones responsible for the building's actual frame.
And if you look at the source text itself, you can really appreciate the incredible detail here. These are not vague suggestions. The instructions are completely explicit, spelling out exactly who is responsible for what. So let's start with that first clan, the Kohathites.
So the Kohathites, they had the most high-pressure job. They were responsible for all the holy things. We're talking the legendary Ark of the Testimony, the table, the candlestick, all the central, most sacred furniture. And notice that last point, how they moved them. They were carried on their shoulders, using poles that went through rings on the furniture. This wasn't cargo you'd just load up. It was a sacred burden you had to carry personally.
Next up, the sons of Gershon. Their entire world was fabric. They took care of all the massive, beautifully intricate curtains that made up the walls and the ceiling, the big outer coverings, all the hangings for the doors and the gates. Basically, their job was to pack up the entire skin of the sanctuary.
And that brings us to the sons of Merari. Now these guys, they were the heavy lifters. They were responsible for the literal foundation and framework of the entire building. The heavy wooden boards for the walls, the bars holding them together, the pillars, the heavy metal sockets they stood in, they moved the very skeleton of the tabernacle.
So, the roles are crystal clear. But just how big was this workforce? I mean, how many people are we actually talking about? Well, the text gives us that answer too through a really detailed census.
And the criteria for serving was super specific. They counted every single male Levite between the ages of 30 and 50. This wasn't a job for a young guy or an elder. This was for men in their absolute prime, men who could handle this incredibly demanding physical and spiritual work.
So first up, the Kohathites, the clan carrying all those holy objects. The number of men qualified for the job, 2,750.
Next, the Gershonites, the soft furnishings team. Their crew is just a little bit smaller, clocking in at 2,630 men.
And finally, the Merarites, the heavy construction crew. Now, as you might guess, their team was the largest of the three, with a workforce of 3,200 men. When you look at it on a chart like this, you can really see the logic and the labor distribution. It just makes perfect sense that the clan hauling the heaviest and most numerous parts of the structure, the Merarites, would also have the biggest crew. This wasn't random. This was smart resource allocation.
And the grand total? When you add them all up, this massive, specialized moving company had 8,580 men. That is just an enormous, dedicated crew, all working together to pull off one single, incredibly complex job.
Okay, so beyond being this amazing feat of project management, what's the big deal? What does this incredibly structured system really tell us? What was the deeper purpose behind all this mind-boggling detail?
Well, this system was really a blueprint for creating order in the middle of what could have been a chaotic journey. First, it set up a clear hierarchy to protect what was considered holy. Second, it demanded absolute precision and gave every single person a specific responsibility. No one ever had to wonder, what's my job? And finally, it gave the whole community a shared collective purpose. It allowed them to move their sacred center in a unified, organized, and truly reverent way.
It really leaves you with the final thought, doesn't it? Thousands of years before we had project management software or complex logistics algorithms, here we have this unbelievably detailed blueprint for managing a massive task. It just makes you wonder, what can this ancient model of clarity, of defined roles, and of shared purpose teach us about how we tackle our own huge, complex challenges today?